you talk about real music production.
Hi, Terrence. This is Rebecca Lane, and I want to give you some feedback on your presentation here. So, great start. And we may not get through all of this video, but I assure you I've already watched it, so we're just going to go through the highlights here. So one of the first things that I'm noticing is that we've got this really bright light over here and you're darker over here. Try to evenly light yourself, just because it's going to put you at an advantage. Also, remember, if there's any part of the screen that's super duper light, my eye is going to be drawn to that, and it's less easy for me to focus on your face. So really make sure we've got some even lighting happening. I love that you're wearing a collared shirt. That's excellent. Well done. Try to show more of your head. I mean, I know that this right now is cutting it off, but give yourself a little bit more headspace. Also, try to include yourself from like under your rib cage so that you can include hand gestures. One of the things that I'm really interested in seeing is letting you use hand gestures when you do this presentation. It allows you to be a lot more expressive. Okay, moving forward.
Well, in hip-hop music, it's easy to do. You figure how to do a good 8-bar loop.
Okay, so one of the things that you just did is you just leaned back. And this, do you notice how your body language feels right now? You're kind of like looking down your nose at us, probably because your seat is a little higher up because your camera is down on your desk. So here's what you can do to really make this work better. Go ahead and put your computer on a box or on something raised, a stack of books, I don't know, but try to get the camera so that it's actually above, so that you're looking up at it. And that's going to make us feel like you're looking directly at us as opposed to looking down at us. So like right now I can tell that you're looking at the camera, but look at this, the way your chin is pushed out, you're kind of leaned back. This is a relatively, it's a high status posture and it's a little bit defensive. So while as a speaker we are taking on a little bit of a higher status posture, we don't want to be too high. We don't want to condescend, we want to speak directly to people. So focus on really how you're presenting yourself.
Think you're good.
Okay, now you're starting to wobble your chair. Careful about that. That is a movement that does not add to the meaning of what you're saying. So make sure that the movements you include add to what you're saying.
But when you talk about real music production, you need to learn music theory. I used to play saxophone in middle and high school. We would learn the songs in band class, and I would ask a million questions about the songs we were doing.
Okay, so right now, what I'd like to hear is a little bit more room in your mouth. You're kind of mumbling a little bit, and one of the things that happens with mumbling is just that your articulation isn't as sharp as it could. And when I say articulation, I mean the emphasis that you put on the consonants of your words. So right now, I am over articulating my words, and I do this just to make a point. Right now you're kind of talking like, and I'm going to exaggerate right now, but this is kind of what you're doing, and it just makes it harder to understand you. So if you put a little bit more space in your mouth and you focus on hitting the consonants, and it's going to feel weird right away. I promise it'll feel weird. So when it feels weird, you'll be like, success, I'm doing it. But then go back and listen to yourself. And I think you'll see that it sounds a little bit more precise.
Because I didn't want anything to catch me by surprise. Then I would go and practice the melodies by myself.
Okay, also, now you kind of sound like you're reading. So the reason, what we mean when we say you sound like you're reading. So let's break that down. So when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I end up having a lot of vocal variation, right? And so vocal variation, we can divide that into a bunch of things. We can call it pitch variation. So like when my voice goes up and my voice goes down, and all of the pitches in between, right? And pitch variation, we've also got rhythm variation. So all of my words are not happening on the same rhythm, and that was really terrible. But I think you understand what I mean. And that can extend to sentences also. So if all of my sentences have the same pattern, this gets hard to listen. This gets hard to listen to because it all sounds the same. And so we stop listening. So try to find a way to kind of break that up. Where can you breathe? Where can you have pauses? Where can you pause to see if we understand you? Think about all the things that we do in a conversation, right? You say something, you wait to see if it hits, you start with a word. How does this person respond to this word? Okay, you get it, so I'll continue. Think about that kind of subtext. And the reason we have to think about it a little bit harder is because this is video. This isn't real life. One thing that you could try to do is try practicing with a person on the other side of the screen, like a real person, a real life person. Or you could probably practice with somebody in this class. I bet if you got in touch with somebody and you were like, hey, I want to practice my speech over Skype, they would totally value that as long as you were returning the favor, right? But so now focus on articulation, finding some variation in your pitch, finding some variation in your rhythm, so that we're not sounding like we're reading.
And perform the songs by ear. The crazy thing, I never learned how to read music in school, and I was in band for 5 years. My experiences reminds me of a lot of new people in the industry who called them.
Okay, so when you were in your outline, you mentioned the story, and I kind of thought you were going to go a little bit more in depth into that. I want to hear that story. That sounds like an awesome story. So what are the details on that? How does that story play out?
Themselves producers, but what they really do is make beats. Honestly, I thought like them too. I spent thousands of dollars buying software and DAWs, and my music was still average. When I decided that I wanted to really make a living as a producer, I realized how important it was to learn.
Okay, so this is something that I know that you are passionate about. I know it because I've been reading the stuff that you've been writing all month. You don't sound passionate right now. You sound a little bored. So what I would recommend is find a specific story you like to tell. And find a place to tell it. Usually when people have trouble getting into their topic, even though they're really excited, telling a specific story, kind of like you would tell a friend, that is kind of a way to jump into. And usually once you get there, it's kind of easy to keep it, especially if you keep dropping in stories that really make you feel good to tell.
The foundation of music, because well-rounded producers understand music theory hands down. So if you care about making better raps.
Okay, so right now it looks like you're reading, right? So you're not quite looking up here at the camera, you're looking down here at your screen. So make sure that you're really making eyeball contact with that green light on your camera.
In hip-hop tracks, you should learn to speak the music, and the only way you can do that is by learning music theory. You'll definitely see the quality of your music change. For me, music theory was the key to me getting more lucrative opportunities with my music. It opened the door for me to connect to people who are ready or where I plan to be in my music career. You're in the music industry to make...
Okay, so you just started to tell us a story and then you avoided all specifics. So tell me specifically how this played out. That's what a story does, is we get specifics and then we generalize from where we start. So, for example, I could start out a story with an experience I had as a kid. So when I was a kid, I grew up listening to my dad's music, and that's the broad statement, right? But then we go into the specifics. I remember every Saturday morning, I would get up, I'd eat my Cheerios, and then I'd go into my dad's office, and he had this old LP that he would play Billy Joel and the Eagles, specifically the Innocent Man album of Billy Joel and the Eagles' greatest hits. And that is a really specific story. And even if you didn't grow up listening to Billy Joel and the Eagles in your dad's office, I bet you listen to your dad's music. I bet you have moments where you remember mornings where you got up and your parents were playing music. But the specifics make it come to life. So give us specifics.
Money, right? And the best way to make more money is to mix your talent with knowledge. Add music theory to your skills with making rap and hip-hop tracks.
Okay, so at some point you need to start citing outside information. That's part of this assignment. So where are you going to do some research? This is something that you could validate by somebody else saying it, right? So who else? Who else has found that it's important to do this kind of a thing?
You will be unstoppable. So why should you learn music theory? Well, you want to be well-rounded as a producer. If you care about your music, you want to make sense, so you need to know why music does what it does. Plus, you want big opportunities to make your money as a producer. Jeff Powell is a producer and engineer in Tennessee who works with Grammy-nominated, Grammy-winning artists. He says it's vital to know music theory because when you're in the studio with other producers, artists, or musicians who know music theory, you're able to speak their language.
Okay, that's great. And I like how you qualified the person who was speaking. I like how you told me who said this information. Also, when did he say it? I mean, was this an interview? Was this in a book? Those are the kind of nice details that make the story well-rounded.
Music theory is the study of why music does what it does. After I learned music theory, even the people who taught me were surprised at how much better my music got. So it's good to know how to use virtual instruments, but theory gives
Can you give me a for example? You're speaking in generalities still.
your foundation to be a great music owner. Knowing music theory can help you start producing different genres of music, which helps you make more money as a producer. At the ASCAP Expo in 2011, Pharrell talked about why learning classical music was important for him to be able to create better music. He says that he never wanted to learn classical music or music theory.
I love how you cited that. Well done.
When he was younger, he didn't like it, but he knows he would never have the opportunity to score the Despicable Me movie if he didn't have the foundation of theory. I agree with him right now. I have the
Okay, so we're going to stop right here, but I think I've given you some stuff to chew on. So try to use some hand gestures. Make sure you're sitting up straight. Try not to lean back in your chair. So what I'd recommend is push that chair back away from the computer, put the computer on a tall box, and really actually look up at it. Try to frame yourself in a way that we can see from the bottom of your rib cage up to the top of your head. And try not to move the computer in the middle of that rehearsal, which I know you will not do in the final project. I know this is a rehearsal and stuff like that, but really start to work on that. Okay, so well done. You were in a good place, and I'm looking forward to see how this improves. Thanks so much, Terrence. Bye.